continuing now in South Asia, where India's national capital, New Delhi, is disappearing, not in distance, but in plain sight. A heavy sheet of toxic smog has settled over the capital, muting colours, swallowing skylines, and making every breath a battle for survival. The air quality index continues to tear past the severe mark as millions step into a toxic winter they never asked for. This is no longer a passing phase. It's a warning, and it's getting louder.
A heavy and unrelenting shroud of toxic smog has rolled into India's national capital, settling over it like a curtain that refuses to rise. From the skyline to the long sweep flyway, the Indian capital looks submerged beneath a toxic metallic veil. A city usually alive with color and chaos now stumbles in its blinding pollution, turning the simple act of breathing into a life-threatening one. Across Delhi, cameras capture the same distressing story. The air quality index continued to breach the 400 mark this week, searing into the severe category, holding millions hostage to a toxic winter they did not choose but now must endure. And the very sight that welcomes commoners and world leaders alike now stands as a stark emblem of the capital's chronic struggle.
दिल्ली की जो अभी आज भी सुबह स्थिति है, लगभग आधे से ज़्यादा एयर क्वालिटी जो मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशंस हैं उसमें 400 प्लस की रेटिंग आ रही है, जो कि एक सिवियर कैटेगरी है, और कुछ इलाकों में तो 450 के प्लस भी जा रहा है. तो लार्जली जो लोकल पोल्यूटेंट्स है और टेम्परेचर में जो डिप हो रहा है उसके कारण जो स्थिति है वो सिवियर प्लस में है.
But the crisis is not confined to humans alone. Birds struggle low and heavy, their flight visibly strained. A seething reminder that Delhi's poisoned air spares no one. Then came a heart-wrenching visual that went viral this week. A golden retriever connected to a nebuliser. His pet parents said he'd been diagnosed with bronchitis brought on by Delhi's toxic air. The canine lies still, almost resigned, while the machine forces moisture into inflamed airways. A sight far too painful, yet far too real for the city's pet owners. Pets, birds and children. Delhi's most loved and most vulnerable residents are bearing the harshest symptoms of its poisoned winter.
The mixture of cold as well as the pollution is quite lethal, and especially for young children whose immunities are on the lower side, they are more prone to catch more allergies, more pneumonias, and they would be ending up in the hospital or in OPD visits.
Earlier this week, panic travelled fast as an Ethiopian volcano erupted for the first time in over 12,000 years. Its sulfur-rich plume drifted towards the Himalayas and then turned towards New Delhi. But India's top meteorologists firmly dismissed the fear. The message remains clear. Delhi's crisis is local, human-made and deeply structural, and not one carried on from Ethiopia. Amid this worsening haze, citizens have voiced deep concern.
I mean, I don't think kuch bol ke kuch ho sakta hai, but it's getting worse and worse. I'm from Delhi, so I know what it used to be earlier. And it's just getting worse, and something needs to be done to stop it. Otherwise, we won't be able to see each other standing next to each other. It would reach that point.
On November 25th, a high-level meeting chaired by the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister flagged an alarming truth. Delhi alone houses more than half of all vehicles in the entire national capital region, and 37% of the fleet across the region still run on outdated emission norms. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has now directed all states to accelerate electric vehicle adoption across categories. Charging networks are to be expanded and enforcement is to be intensified. That urgency is already visible on roads. Across the Indian capital, electric buses now cut through the smog like silent green arrows. Clean, efficient, and symbolic of a future Delhi deserves. A future its citizens desperately aspire towards. Yet, the toxic haze lingers stubbornly, because no public transport fleet, not even a greener one, can clean the city's air overnight. The Commission for Air Quality Management has now instructed all government and private offices to operate at 50% capacity, with the remaining workforce mandatorily working from home. The logic is simple: fewer cars, less congestion, reduced emissions. But on the ground, in the choking lanes of such wholesale markets where thousands labor from dawn until exhaustion, this directive lands awkwardly. These are workers who cannot log in from home, cannot stagger hours, and cannot escape the smog. Their livelihoods depend on presence, not policy. For Delhi's working class, the order may remove a few cars from the roads, but for now, it does nothing to lighten the load on their lungs.